All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're tackling a real classic comfort food, stuffed shells with meat.
Yeah, those are so good.
And we've got a recipe from Fork and Fry that one of you actually sent in to us, so thanks for that.
Always appreciate you guys sharing your favorites.
So let's break it down. Like, what are the things we need to keep in mind to really nail this recipe at home?
Absolutely. So, first things first, we got to preheat that oven, 375 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty standard for baking.
Okay, easy enough.
Then grab those jumbo pasta shells. Got to cook them al dente, just like the package says.
Al dente. Everyone says that, but what does it actually mean, for stuffed shells specifically?
Well, al dente just means it's cooked, but still has a little bite to it, not mushy, you know?
Right.
And for stuffed shells, that's super important because they're going to cook more in the oven with all that filling and sauce. If they're already soft, they'll turn to mush. Nobody wants mushy shells.
For sure. So we want them firm enough to hold their shape.
Exactly. So make sure you still see a little bit of that pale center when you cut into a shell. That's how you know it's al dente. Then drain those shells and let them cool a bit.
Okay, cooling? Seems simple, but why is that important?
Well, first off, nobody wants to burn their fingers trying to stuff hot pasta. It's got to cool down a bit so you can actually handle it.
Makes sense.
And also, if the shells are too hot, they might melt the cheese in the filling. Then the filling gets all runny and harder to work with.
Ah, so it's like a strategic cooling break.
You got it. Gives you a chance to catch your breath, too. Now comes the fun part, the meat filling.
Yeah, this is where the flavor really starts to come in.
Totally. Grab your skillet, heat up some olive oil over medium heat, and then brown that ground beef.
Now, the recipe mentions that we can use a mix of pork and beef. What's the deal with adding pork?
It's all about that extra flavor and moisture. Beef gives you that classic rich taste, but pork has more fat, so it keeps things nice and juicy.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, it adds a subtle sweetness, too, like another layer of flavor.
I'm into it. So while the meat's browning, we add the garlic and those classic seasonings. Salt, pepper, and oregano. Simple, but they work so well, right?
Absolutely. They're like the Italian-American flavor trifecta, especially with ground meat. The garlic wakes everything up, and oregano adds that warm, slightly peppery herbal taste. And of course, salt and pepper to make all those flavors pop.
So important. So we cook it till it's nicely browned. It's not just for looks, right?
Nope. Browning creates those deep roasted flavors. It's a chemical reaction. We're getting all scientific now.
I love it. So once the meat's all browned and delicious, just like the pasta, we let it cool down before we move on.
Exactly. All right, now for the creamy filling. This is where the ricotta, mozzarella, Parmesan cheese, and egg, and fresh basil all come in. They all go in a big bowl with the cooled meat.
So many cheeses. Each one does something different, I imagine.
Absolutely. The
Well,
rocca is the creamy base, kind of tangy and super smooth. Mozzarella is the melty, stretchy cheese that everyone loves. And Parmesan, that's the sharp, salty umami bomb. It really adds depth.
wow, a cheese for every occasion. And what's the egg doing in there? It seems like it's just kind of hanging out.
Haha. Oh, it's got a crucial job. The egg acts as a binder, holding all that cheesy goodness together. Without it, your filling might just crumble apart.
Ah, so it's like the glue.
Exactly. And then we have the fresh basil. This stuff is magical. It just brightens up the whole filling with its peppery, sweet flavor. A little sprinkle goes a long way.
It adds such a freshness. So we mix all of that together until it's smooth, which makes it easier to work with, right?
You got it. Now it's time for the fun part, stuffing those shells. Be generous with the filling. That's the key.
Totally agree. More filling, more happiness.
And it helps the shells keep their shape in the oven, too.
Okay, so now our shells are all plumped up with that delicious filling. We're ready to assemble.
Time for the masterpiece. First, we're going to spread some marinara sauce on the bottom of our baking dish.
Why do we start with sauce on the bottom?
It's like insurance. It prevents the shells from sticking to the dish and burning. Plus, as it bakes, that sauce bubbles up around the shells, adding even more flavor.
So smart.
Then we carefully arrange those beautiful stuffed shells, top them with the rest of the marinara, and then the grand finale.
More cheese.
More mozzarella. Remember, the more cheese, the better.
I could not agree more. All right, we've got our cheesy, saucy mountain of stuffed shells. Time for the oven.
Yep. We're going to bake this beauty covered with foil for about 25 to 30 minutes.
The foil.
The foil helps to trap the steam and heat, cooking the pasta and filling evenly without drying out the cheese on top. It's like a little sauna for our shells.
It's great visual. Then for the last 10 minutes, we unveil the masterpiece, right?
Exactly. We take off that foil and let that cheese get all bubbly, golden brown, and slightly crispy. It's like a culinary striptease.
Haha, I love that.
Okay.
The anticipation must be killing everyone at this point.
Oh, for sure. But once it comes out of the oven, we've got to be patient and let it cool for a few minutes.
Is that just to avoid burning our mouths?
Well, partly. But it also allows the filling to set up so it doesn't spill out everywhere when you try to serve it. Plus, letting it cool down a bit helps those flavors really meld and shine.
It's all about delayed gratification, huh?
It's the key to a perfect dish. And then for the final touch, we sprinkle on some fresh basil or parsley.
A little greenery to finish it off.
It adds another pop of fresh flavor and just makes the whole dish look stunning.
And we can't forget the sidekicks. A nice fresh salad and some garlic bread.
The perfect trio. The salad adds some lightness, and you got to have that garlicky bread to soak up all that extra sauce.
So there you have it. Stuffed shells with meat. A classic comfort food that's totally achievable at home.
Definitely. And the fork and fry recipe does a great job of breaking it down. It's perfect for both new and experienced cooks.
Absolutely. Now, for the full recipe and tons of other delicious ideas, head over to www.forkandfry.com. You won't regret it.
And hey, when you make this dish, snap a photo and share it with us. Tag us on social media, let us know what you think, or if you made any fun tweaks.
Yeah, we love seeing your culinary masterpieces.
Yeah.
So get cooking, everyone. Have fun with it, experiment, and savor those delicious homemade meals.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a new recipe. Until then, happy cooking.